Hi, this is Dr. Wallace J. Nichols, and this next episode is called Get Your Blue Mind On. In this episode, we're going to give you some practical tips how you can get more engaged with your water throughout your entire life. This episode is for everyone. So let's watch.
Tell me your journey with Blue Mind. I mean, you started this a while ago. Well, you didn't start this, nature started this, but you sort of tapped into it. And so tell me about your journey with Blue Mind.
You know, I would say, if I'm following my own description of the 7 ages of water, that my personal journey with Blue Mind began inside my own private ocean called Mom, where I spent 9.21 months. And like you and like most people, as a child, I was adopted. So without getting into the details of what that entails, it's a little different to be a kid who was adopted and to have some questions. I also stuttered, and I found that I could escape my anxiety and avoid the need to speak if I was underwater. And so I fell in love with being in any body of water because it solved 2 big problems. Talking to people and just generally being uncertain, and just felt comfortable in the water. So that led me to become a marine biologist, which I could, adequately, professionally sort of scratch that itch to be in the water all the time and get paid for it. And so I studied sea turtles for many decades as a scientist and conservationist. And along the way, I wondered about that pull that I had, and that many of my colleagues also have, and many people I meet are connected to water in this way. And so I wanted to read a book about our brain on water, along the lines of other books about our brain on music and our brain on happiness and creativity. And when I went looking for the book to read, I found that it hadn't been written. And I really wanted to read it and apply it to my work, and tried to get some other people to write it, namely Dr. Oliver Sacks, who said it was a fine idea and that I should write the book. And that began my journey on what we now call Blue Mind, and bringing together a lot of smart people, psychologists and neuroscientists and water professionals, and asking them this question: what's going on inside of us when we feel this deep connection to water, when we're in the shower and we get the aha moment, when we're floating on our backs in a pool, when we're scuba diving or surfing or swimming? What's going on neurologically, psychologically? And I collected all of that information, all of those insights, and wrote this book called Blue Mind.
I'm new to Blue Mind. This is going to be Blue Mind 101. What is the single most important thing I need to know about Blue Mind and the whole Blue Mind movement?
So I wrote this book, 368 pages, all about your brain on water and the psychology and neuroscience of this question. And right at the end, the very last page, I wrote, all I really want to say is this, ... And I remember sitting on the couch and thinking, what do I really want to say? After all these pages, all 5 years of work, all I really want to say is this. And what I wrote was, get in the water. Get in the water. That's it. Get to the water. Walk by the water. Float on the water. Do whatever it takes to spend more time near the water you love. That's all I'm really trying to say. For all of the reasons we can expound upon, we can pile up the science, but really at the end of the day, all we really are trying to say is get in the water and spend more time there.
So get in the water to achieve Blue Mind. What is Blue Mind?
Blue Mind is this mildly meditative state that connects you more to yourself, to each other, and to our home planet, to the waters we love. It helps us be, like they say, a better version of ourselves, but what that really means is helps us calm ourselves down, it helps us focus, it helps us remove distraction, it helps us have better, richer conversations, it helps us hear ourselves think. We, as a result, are more creative, we're happier, we're healthier, and our social bonds are stronger. If any of that sounds like a good idea, then you probably need some Blue Mind in your life.
So tell me about red mind. Red mind is a counter to blue mind, and why is red mind so dangerous?
Well, red mind is our natural ability to respond to threats, to activate, to be responsive. It's our fight or flight response to anything that might be potentially harming us or require our immediate attention and focus. So red mind is when your alarm bell goes off. And it could be, a quiet alarm, a little alarm, but it could be this, huge, big alarm where it's panic mode.
Right.
And red mind has kept us alive, as a species. It's necessary to have this fear, occasionally anger, this aggressive side. It's really useful. But in modern society, increasingly, it's the mode we stay in. We wake up in the morning, immediately it's go, go, go. It's lists, it's incoming information, it's processing. And we don't get a break until we crash at the end of the day. And so red mind is incredibly useful. It helps us be successful. It helps us win the race, get to the deadlines. It helps us put people on the moon, frankly. But if it's all we have, it's going to burn us out.
Right.
It's the new normal, really. But it can be completely overwhelming. And when all you have is red mind, you will burn out and it will be ashes. And we call that gray mind. That's the leftover after the burnout.
Right.
And it's pretty useless. That's despondent, depressed, detached, spent. Right. And nobody wants to end up there. So red mind needs to be moderated, modulated, and controlled. Otherwise, it will burn us out.
And what does, continuous red mind, what does that do to your body? I imagine it can't be great for your stomach, your brain, your...
Yeah, that level of stress, that constant level of stress. I'm not talking about the stress of running a hard mile or burning your hand on a pan. I'm talking about that chronic, nagging background stress that says you're not doing enough, you're not good enough. There's a big problem with you. And that's kind of where a lot of us get with all the incoming messages. But if you let that go, it just tears you up. It tears you down. And it hurts you at the cellular level. It hurts your brain. It hurts your neurons. And it hurts your cells. And eventually you fall apart physically, physiologically, and emotionally. The science of stress is really clear.
Right.
Every medical health professional knows the science of stress, the physiology of stress, and it does lead to burnout. So it's probably the number one killer, really, because stress is implicated in 60% of diseases, disorders, and illnesses affecting modern humans. 60%.
Wow.
That's the majority. And managing our stress, therefore, has a huge upside. And that's really what Blue Mind is all about, is really managing our emotional and psychological stress. Here's an example. J.K. Rowling is a famous, celebrated author who is famous for the Harry Potter series. She hit a point in her writing career where she was just really stuck and anxious about it. And that led her into this kind of gray mind mode of taking a step back and feeling out of it. And she used that moment of conflict, internal conflict and stress and depression even, to create the characters that became villains in her writing, who then helped her express it and emerge from that gray mind mode. So this idea that there are tools available to us to help us manage our emotional health besides prescriptions, besides drugs, although those are very useful, there is this whole other set of tools that we want everybody to understand and use as necessary along this bouncy road of life. Yeah.
So, I've read the Flow to Tranquility, and so please go a little bit deeper into these tools that are available to us, these blue tools.
Yeah. So we like to focus on as many natural healing tools as possible. So diet is important, eating well, exercise, and these are all have become mainstream concepts.
Right.
reducing stress, eating well, and getting lots of sleep, having some exercise, regular exercise. But what we're also realizing is the role of nature, the role of being outdoors in green space, so going into parks, forests, being around plants and trees, even on farms. And in particular, adding blue space to the equation. So it turns out, research is very clear, when you add blue to the green, it's even better. So parks are good. Parks with water are even better. A walk through some woods is great. A walk through the woods to a lake or along a creek is even better. It's more stimulating in a calming way. It's even more addictive in the best possible way to be pulled towards that water and feel like you need it. And so Blue Mind is all about the whole set of natural, calming, healing tools that are available to us that range from eating well, sleeping well, exercising appropriately, and spending plenty of time in natural blue and green spaces.
Now, not everybody can do that. And, you mention often that, get yourself to the water, get in on under the water. Yeah. Not everybody can do that. What are some things that people who don't have access maybe to a park or to a pool or to a beach, what can they do?
So I hear this pushback all the time that sounds good, but not everybody has access to water the way you're describing. And it turns out 100% of the time that I've heard that, when I've had the conversation about it, they do have access. Every single time. So let's take a step back. So if you're living in the middle of the biggest city in the world, let's just imagine that city, right? Is there any water in your city? Is there a bathtub? Do you have a bathtub? Does your neighbor have a bathtub? Is there a shower? Is there a public pool? Is there a fountain? Is there a river running through your city? Maybe it's not the greatest river in the world, but it's still a river.
Right.
Right? So start to inventory the water that's available from where you are sitting right now. Tell me about the public watery spaces that are available in your city, in your town. Tell me about the nearest cool bathtub. Tell me about the nearest public pool. Tell me about the nearest lake, creek, river, bay, ocean. Right? Put it on the map, make a list, and then tell me, have you prioritized any time with that water? And if the answer is no, but I could, now we're talking, right? Now we're getting there. So there's the physical water that you're probably underutilizing. And I guarantee I've not met a single person who has said, I've got too much blue mind in my life. I need more red mind. 0 people have ever said that to me.
Right.
Everybody has too much red mind and not enough blue mind. So we can all move in the right direction towards a little or a lot more blue mind water time. Okay, so there's that piece. But if you, maybe it's the dead of winter in this big city and you just really don't want to go outside, what do you do then? Right? Well, you can bring blue mind indoors into your life. You can, I call it virtual water, virtual blue mind. You can watch a movie about the ocean, your favorite movie. You can put sounds of water playing on the speakers in your living space, at work even. And that's being done in workplaces to reduce workplace stress. They're playing the sound of water through the speakers in the ceilings. Wow. Right? So, and that works the best if it's the sound of the water that's recorded from a nearby waterway or a fountain in the lobby. Oh. Sort of interesting little piece of the study.
Oh, the water that's closest to you.
Yes, if you have a visual reference to the water, you hear it, and then the sound follows you to your desk. That works better than sort of a disembodied water sound coming out of the ceiling. Right. Kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
But you can apply that in your own home. So pick the sound of water that you like the most. Maybe make that recording in the summertime so that you can listen to it in the wintertime. If there's a waterway that you love, or piece of art, or photograph, hang it on your wall. Hang it in a place where you're going to see it. Yep. And move it around every month or so. Put it on a different wall, because then it'll stay fresh. And so there are, we can use art, we can use sound, we can use music, reading a book like Blue Mind puts people into their blue mind. I've even heard that people listen to my audiobook and it helps them relax. Because this conversation
Right.
that we're having about water helps people think about their water and virtually have a Blue Mind experience. I guess my main message is there are no excuses. And
Right.
if you don't want to do it, well, maybe just stop right here and see ya. But if you do, let's talk, because there are answers for everyone to get their Blue Mind on.
I actually bought a little desktop fountain for my nephew because
Yeah.
I felt he needed to relax. And it's just this sort of like very zen-like
Yeah.
gurgling little fountain that is on a continuous pump and seems to do something.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in a big city and you found your fountain, you found your river, you found your neighborhood Y that has a pool, which is great. What are some other wonderful ways of connecting with water?
I think people often take the water in our own homes for granted.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard from people, and I know this is not everyone, but for some people, washing dishes mindfully is therapeutic. It's their moment with their hands in the warm water. The sound of it sort of masks the sound of life. They get to just be with the water in the dirty dishes. So that's not for everyone,
Right.
but for some people, that's part of it. Shower time. So there's sort of, apocryphal stories and legends of aha moments happening while people are in the bath or the shower. I hear it all the time.
Right.
People saying, I get my best ideas in the shower.
Yeah.
And so what I tell people is bring in these crayons for kids
Yeah.
for bath time. Put one of those in your shower in your bath so that when you have that amazing idea, you can write it on the wall and then take a photograph of the note, because you will forget that great idea
Right.
while you're in the shower. It will pop in your head. You think you're going to remember it. If you have a waterproof crayon, a soap crayon, you could jot it on the wall and then remember it. But take your shower time seriously.
Right.
The next time you're in the shower, let the water pound on the back of your neck. Close your eyes and feel it in a way you've never felt it before. Hear it in a way you've never heard it before. And just feel what it's doing to your vagus nerve. Feel what's happening, that massage on the back of your neck that water is doing. Imagine you're in a waterfall in Hawaii or on a tropical island. You can do that. You can do that with the power of your own imagination, your own mind, and your shower, right? Take a bath, fill it up, put some bubbles or some sea salt in there, turn off the light, light a candle, put on some soft music, lock the door. Make that space your own, right? It's nearly free and it's in your home. And if you don't have a bathtub, find a neighbor who has one and knock on their door and say, I'm coming in. That's available to us. And so our fast-paced life, we take quick showers, we skip the baths, we don't have time. That's not the excuse, right? I don't know what to tell you if you don't have time for a mindful shower. I mean, it's other than do it. In your own home, even, a glass of water.
Right.
I mean, this sounds ridiculous. You go, okay, really, dude? But next time you have a big glass of water and you're thirsty, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, enjoy the heck out of it.
Mindfully enjoy
really,
it.
really enjoy it. And while you're drinking it, think of where that water has traveled from, and think of how many people are responsible for making sure that water gets to you safely.
Right.
And think about the water cycle, and think about how amazing water in fact is. 50% of the water on Earth came in on meteors, came in on asteroids, came in extraterrestrial water. Half of our water started as part of the water of Earth, but half of it came in from elsewhere.
That's miraculous.
It's absolutely amazing. So as you drink that glass of water, just consider that water is the elixir for life. Water is the source of all life. Water is what makes our planet special, as far as we know so far, in the universe. NASA is searching for other life, and their first pass is to look for water.
Right.
And we've got it here. So that's a mindful glass of water if you're thinking about all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a teenager and extremely emotional, my mother's greatest piece of advice to me was go put some water on your face.
Yeah.
gets you right out
Yeah.
of it. You just
Right.
take that
Yeah,
cold
splash your
water, splash it on your face, and it kind of hits a reset button.
Yeah. Well, and in fact, we have a mammalian reflex. We have a mammalian response to that splash of cold water. So it sets off a neurological response in all mammals. Getting hit by cold water sets off a response that sets us up for what's next. We didn't evolve with kitchen sinks. We evolved with wild waterways. So when that water hits you, it usually means there's more water coming. It starts a whole process that prepares you for submergence, relaxes you, right? Shunts blood to where it's mostly needed. Your breathing rate slows, and that's just splashing water on your face. So your inner sea lion is having, your inner elephant seal, your inner whale
Right.
is having a response to getting ready for a dive when you splash that water in your face. So it's a very focusing and calming and centering activity biologically, based on what happens to all mammals. So it's a mammalian response to that splash of water. Yeah.
So Jay, I know you have some cheats for people about how they can get quick and easy Blue Mind.
Yeah.
Can you share some with us?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I do. So
Okay.
sometimes we're by the ocean, and that's easy.
Right.
Sometimes there's a beautiful bathtub, and that's easy. Sometimes you're on let's say a subway,
Yeah.
and you want to get your Blue Mind on. You need to get your Blue Mind on. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right? So options, right? Your imagination is absolutely the most amazing thing
Right.
ever, period. Better than any technology ever invented. The human imagination is stunning. And so close your eyes, breathe, and take yourself to your water. So that water that makes you happy,
Right.
that maybe you've never been there. Maybe it's someplace you'd like to go. Maybe it's someplace you've learned about, seen photos of, seen a film about. You're fantasizing about it.
Right.
Go there. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself stepping into that water. Is there a waterfall? Is it a beach? Is there a wave? Are there sea turtles? Are you alone? Are you with somebody you care about? Just close your eyes and go to your water. This is a very, very common technique in meditation and mindfulness
Right.
and therapy to take you to your happy place.
Right.
And it turns out most people, their happy place has something to do with water.
Right.
Their calm, happy place almost always is in nature, and frequently it's by the water. So close your eyes and go there. If you need the assist, maybe keep a photo or two of that place on your smartphone. Keep a little video there. Pull that up. Maybe there's a song that can remind you of that place.
Right.
Maybe there's a recording of a conversation. Maybe you made a recording of that sound of that water the last time you were there. Keep that on your smartphone. Stick your headphones on and play it. That will take you immediately out of that red mind moment that you may want to be escaping and into your Blue Mind. And so use technology as not just a way to distract yourself and a way to entertain and change your thoughts, but a way to calm yourself and a way to go deeper into your best thoughts. Yeah.
I did something recently. I was at a beach, and my sister. It was the dead of winter. My sister was like, "Oh, I wish I were there with you." And so I took a little mini film with my phone of
Yeah.
the waves sort of lapping and the sound, and I sent it to her. And I have it on my phone, which is great. But there are other things. There are apps that have, the sound of gentle rain
Yeah.
falling, the sound of waves, the sound
Yeah.
of, a waterfall. All these water sounds that you could tap into and make it pretty accessible.
There are all kinds of resources. There are all kinds of videos and recordings. But I've found that the photos and the videos and the audio recordings that we make ourselves have the most impact.
Yeah.
Right? Watching a movie about the ocean is beautiful, but watching a movie about your kids in the ocean
Yeah.
is better than any Academy Award-winning film you could ever imagine. When you're there, don't take all your time and obsess with technology and recording everything, but make a memory that you can take with you. Create a little bit of art and make your Blue Mind portable,
Right.
and then tap into it. And I think, there are simple things we can do, like painting walls blue, adding, you know, the artwork that we talked about.
Blue light bulbs.
Blue light bulbs, you know, just shifting things up, creating the calming, healing blue mind spaces in your home. It's not going to be your whole home, but you need a room or a corner or someplace that's like your watery space. And some people get really creative and they paint the ceiling, they light the room, even the flooring, the carpets can have an aquatic theme. And so, you know, get a little carried away if that's your thing and you really want to create your blue mind space. But fish tanks and aquariums, whether they have actual animals or not, plug in little fountains and waterfalls. You can bring water into your home in many ways. And I would also encourage people, as crazy as it sounds, go outside into a big rainstorm. Right? Don't always run from the rain. I think this generation, you know, we have all these apps that tell us the weather and we avoid rain. We avoid being caught in the rain. But when I was a kid, we used to go running in the rain and stomp in the puddles and get soaking wet, and we loved it.
Yeah.
Right? We don't do that as much as adults, but it really is fun. And if you just, you get wet, just say, hey, we're gonna take a walk. It's pouring rain in the middle of the summer. It's gonna be warm. We're gonna get wet, and then we'll dry off. And so just embrace those opportunities, and every one of them will become a lasting memory. And then those memories get really useful. One of the things that's come up over the years is I was interviewed by a reporter, and she was having a very bad year, and for many different reasons, emotionally, socially, her health. And she went and spent some time in a cranberry bog. And she said it was the best day of the year, by far. And she wanted to write a magazine article about it. She was actually commissioned to write the article. And she got in touch because she wanted to understand, why was this very wet cranberry bog so therapeutic? It was cranberry bog therapy. And so we got into this whole conversation about Blue Mind, and it was really the water that helped her have that experience. And it reminded me that it isn't about the perfect tropical vacation that you have to save up a lot of money and pull off maybe once in a lifetime.
Right.
It's about the cranberry bog.
Right.
It's about the creek. It's about the water down, it's the pond, the
Yeah.
water that you pass every day on your commute. Pull over and go check it out. If you can find a little rowboat, you know, borrow it and get out on that pond.
Right.
And just hang out there. And so it's around us. We just have to pause and find it and be creative about it. And we really were that way as kids.
Yes.
Like, there was a little creek and a little, basically, pile of dirt. And that was my Amazon as a kid. I mean, I explored that place and I thought it was epic. And I look back at it now and it really wasn't. But it really was. It truly was.
Right.
And I spent summers exploring that little mound of dirt in that tiny little creek. And we lose that sense of adventurous spirit. And I think it comes back really fast as soon as you get your feet in the water and start flipping rocks over, looking for crawdads and turtles. And so if you need to grab a kid so that you have an excuse to do it, certainly just bring a kid along. But it's everywhere. It's so available, and it connects you to your home planet. So I encourage people to spend a little more time not only going off on far-flung journeys, but looking at the water that's right down the street.
You know, you mention children as inspiration to find your water. I mean, I think there's nothing as liberating as being a little kid and running through the sprinkler.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, that could be it. A sprinkler, a hose, washing the dog.
A water fight.
I mean, I always say the balloons are fun. Water balloons are other level. You know, parks are nice. Water parks are epic. And so just adding water to whatever the situation is changes it up. And of course, you know, when the water is coming where you don't want it to be, that's not Blue Mind. That's more Red Mind.
Right.
But as long as it's when and where you want it to be, and it's purposeful and it's mindful, it's really maybe the best thing you can do with your time.
I mean, it sounds to me as if everybody has access to some kind of water someplace. So from what you're saying, it sounds like go find your water and really be mindful in your enjoyment of it.
That's right. I think everyone has access. There are barriers to access for sure. There's pollution that makes water unattainable. There are physical barriers, locked gates, closed doors, and there are perceptual barriers that we will talk ourselves out of it. We'll say, well, I don't know how to swim, so I'm not going to go there.
Well, I don't like the way I look in a bathing suit.
Yeah, right. There's all kinds of reasons. Or we bring our technology, so we don't want to get in the water because we have our phone and don't want to get it wet. So we have to overcome those barriers, and we have to do that together. So if you have no barriers and you're going to the water, take somebody by the hand that needs to go with you and show them the path, because they may not know how to get there, and they may not know that they can, and they may not understand the benefits. So if every time, if you're thinking, well, I got this, Blue Mind, I already do it, I don't need to listen to this conversation, lucky you, and take somebody with you, because there's somebody in your family, in your neighborhood, in your place of work, who needs to know what you know.
Right.
So grab them by the hand, get the swimsuit for them, bring an extra towel,
Right.
whatever it is, an extra life preserver, extra swim lessons, but make that happen. And I think that's how we build the Blue Mind movement, is one person at a time.
Yes.
Each one of us dragging another person into this conversation, sharing this conversation, sharing these videos with everybody that you know that needs to hear about it. And we're growing this, and our goal is for everyone, 7.7 billion people, to understand their Blue Mind and have access to it. And you think about how transformative that could be for our health, but also for the health of the planet. It's pretty astounding. For our creativity, for our happiness, for our connectivity to each other. So that's our vision, and we're not stopping until we get there.
So in order to get absolutely everybody blue-minded, we have to identify, find your water, talk about it, share it.
Share it. Yeah, and get there as often as possible, and just keep the conversation going. I think that's what it's all about. Yeah. So now you know how to get your Blue Mind on, but there's so much more. Share our work with everyone you know, because we all need our Blue Mind. So pay attention. The next episode is absolutely amazing.